welcome back to the channel. If you're new here and you like the content, please make sure you like and subscribe. Today things are a little bit different. We're going to be doing a review on this guitar right here. This is basically, I mean, it looks like an EVH Kramer from the 80s. You know, the 5151, but it isn't. This is direct from AliExpress and it is a knockoff. So basically, this video is just kind of in response to another video I put up not too long ago on my AliExpress Rhodes V. There seems to be a lot of interest about that particular guitar, so I thought, hey, what the heck, I got two of these. Why don't I do another review and I'll talk about, you know, the 5150 version that I also have from AliExpress. So basically I bought both of these guitars, you know, late one night on like a Saturday after a few beers. I was, you know, just scrolling through my social media news feed and lo and behold, targeted advertising showed this thing along with that Rhodes V, and I thought, well, how bad can they possibly be? They're about 300 bucks. They're probably decent-ish, but for $300, why not gamble? Take a look. Anyway, so put in an order, and like 4 months later, they finally showed up, and this is it. This is the this is what I got in the mail. All right, so first thing I should mention about this guitar, and it's the same as that Rhodes V I've got. As soon as I got it out of the packaging, was the smell. Yeah, this guitar, just like the other one, it reeks. It's horrible. It's got this super chemically smell to it. I don't know what it is. It's probably whatever they use to finish and do the clear coat on this thing. But it's a really pungent, very strong smell. And it's obvious from, you know, as soon as you start holding it, it's something you're just going to be playing along going, man, there's something here that smells like some sort of industrial cleaner. It's the guitar. It stinks. Aside from the smell, the finish itself from a distance, I mean, it looks pretty good except for the glaringly obvious errors. If you're a big EVH connoisseur, you'll know what they are right away. First things first, you know, compared to an original, you know, like the ones Eddie played, this is the one stripe that, like, I saw to me, and was like, well, that's in the wrong place. That should be going to the pickup. I mean, any pictures you see of Eddie playing this guitar are the one that this is based off of from the 80s. This one black stripe should always go to the humbucker. Aside from that, I mean, there's no other massively obvious issues with things missing aside. This one looks a little bit funny here. I don't know if you can see that. Just kind of ends off in a big one to a little one. A little strange. But that one was the one I noticed right away as being totally incorrect. But what do you want? This is a cheap guitar. It's from China. They're probably just going off a picture and painting it like, close enough, get it out the door. And I mean, really from a distance, it looks the part. The other obvious thing I noticed, you know, just about the finish trying to imitate the actual Kramer from the 80s was up here on the headstock. Now, there should be a big white stripe and a small white stripe here, and as you can see, it's just kind of two small white stripes and they're not running parallel. That's the other obvious miss that I noticed. Also, just while I'm up here, I should mention this. I mean, when I ordered this, I thought it'd be like my Rhodes V, which would be unbranded, you know, just a kind of replica of the guitar I was looking for. This one, in the picture, did not have anything on the headstock. When it showed up, it said Kramer, and yeah, I'm a little bit leery of that. Selling merchandise as somebody else's product, especially when it's at this quality level, that's a no-no. Not even that, but not only did they try to, you know, pass this off as a Kramer, which it most certainly is not, they didn't center it. You see that? The logo's off center a little bit. A little strange, but again, what are you going to do? Attention to detail. You're not going to get that kind of attention to detail or quality control for as little money as this is worth. All right, as I keep kind of looking around here, another thing you'll notice is the star. The star is just red paint, whereas the star itself, I'm pretty sure on Eddie's version, was like more like a sticker. And it looked kind of like, see the 5150 here? That kind of material. Now the other thing is these are just stickers as well, so these will probably peel off over time, which I'm fine with. Just it seems strange they'd go through the hassle of using a sticker here, which is clearly in the right kind of reflective stuff, similar to what Eddie had in the 80s, and then not use it up here on the headstock. A little weird, but again, cheap guitar, you're not going to get that much quality. And again, from a distance, it sort of looks the part, right? As you keep kind of going through the finish here, you start noticing like they didn't really spend much time to clear and level this. Like there's bumps all over here. You can feel all the stripes. So it's just not a real quality finish. I mean, it's still a better finish than anything I could produce for clear on my own with rattle cans, which is kind of my approach to this sort of thing. This likely is a much better finished product than I'd be able to produce myself. But again, if you want to do one of these on your own, Eddie did his just with rattle cans anyway, and it wasn't perfect. So there you go. As you keep kind of looking through here, one thing you do start to notice is, I don't know if you can see this in the camera right here, there's a little bit of discoloration right in this area here, almost like somebody had a dirty finger or a little bit of dust got there on the white. And of course, this being a cheap guitar, they just kind of carry it on. They don't really care. So it's in my finish, is what it is. You don't really notice unless you're looking. There's a few little blemishes like that, particles that clearly got stuck in the clear. Like, I don't know if you can see in here. I don't know if this is going to show up on camera. Let me try a different angle. Right there. So if you see like right here, that you can feel that it's thick, but that's a particle that landed when they were clearing. And of course they just left it because, you know, who cares? It's a cheap guitar. They wanted to get it out. But all sorts of issues just with the finish itself. It smells kind of punky. I mean, it's good solid clear. It's not going to dent easily or anything like that, but it's got some glaring errors. Nice thing about this though is on the back of the headstock, just like the one from the 80s, that is correct, right? There was a bit of paint back there, and you get the skunk stripe too, which is nice. So this does have a truss rod, which is adjustable. One thing that you do notice though is there are drips just like that other V I've got from AliExpress. Same spot, pretty much, same issue. There was a drip. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this one on the headstock to show up at all, but there was a drip right here. Yeah, you can sort of see it. And it's a little bumped, you can feel it when you're playing. It's a little bit awkward. But again, they're not gonna sand this down and refinish this neck when they do it. It's a cheap guitar. And obviously a little bit nefarious marketing ploy here with this sort of thing. So they just want to get out of the door, make their money, and that's that. The other kind of obvious thing to me, now from a distance, yeah, this looks pretty all right, but something about it, just the proportions have been throwing me off ever since this showed up. And I was looking at it, I was playing it for a bit, and you know, I'm holding it, and then it dawned on me, this is smaller. This whole body is not the size of like a regular Kramer Beretta or Kramer Pacer. It looks kind of small. The horn cuts look a little bit different. This is what was going through my mind. I thought, something's just not right with this guitar. Anyway, so just to verify this, I happen to have a Kramer Beretta. So let's grab that and see if there's any difference. All right. So this is a legit Beretta. This is they call this the 84 reissue. So this is basically supposed to be to the specs of the 80s kind of Berettas, the sort of stuff you associate with certain players of that era. And I assume that this was probably based off of the Beretta as well. Now if I hold them up beside each other, like so, let me see if I get these back here. What do you notice? Well, one up here on the top, like these horns, it's a little bit narrower. Like, do you see that? If you look at the horns, like this one here cuts into the body by quite a bit, whereas on the actual Kramer, it's still more proportional, follows more the bottom contour a little bit more. And you can see that, you know, here, this is almost level, this horn. So that's a bit off. Not only that, the cut itself in here for the horn is a lot deeper on the actual Kramer than it is on this thing. But yeah, like, this one is substantially larger than this one. It's, I don't know why, just if I hold out like that and do this, like it's missing. This is almost like a Jackson Dinky in size. Like, I swear it feels like it's 7/8 size, which is, you know, okay if you want a bit of a smaller guitar, but if you're expecting a full-size kind of Kramer Beretta stylish guitar, that's not really it. Okay, so it's definitely not a Beretta body shape. Maybe it's a Pacer shape. Good news, I have a Pacer. Hold on. All right, so this here is a Pacer and wonderful Bengal Tiger. This one I think is a 2015, but again, it's pretty close to what the Pacer would have been in the 80s. I actually happen to have a Focus 2000, which is essentially the Japanese Pacer of that era, and yeah, the body cut on them, everything is pretty much identical. But compared to this thing, yeah, no, again, that main horn right here, this horn, like you can see that, right? Like it just, they're different. They're different cuts, they're different shapes, they're different contours. Same with the other horn, the little horn. It just, it doesn't quite look right. It's a little bit off. Just slightly. It's kind of funny too. You notice it when you put it in your guitar rack with multiple guitars, that the horns just are a little bit off. It looks kind of weird, but you only notice it if you have it next to other guitars. On its own, standalone, you don't really notice. It looks fine. Same sort of thing though, like even the waist taper and the cut on here. I don't know if you can see it. It's just much narrower on this thing than it is on this actual Pacer. Sorry, my straps are getting in the way. But yeah, just this knockoff is just way narrower, and way narrower in the shoulders too. Just really bizarre. Anyway, So that's that. It's not really a, whoops, it's not really a pacer shape either, is it? I don't know, it's a knockoff. It's its own shape. Call it a tribute shape, how about that? All right, so the next thing I want to mention about this guitar is the neck. The neck itself, it's okay. Like when it showed up, surprisingly the fret job on it was okay. I didn't need to level it. I didn't need to do anything to the edges. They weren't stabbing me, which was a huge surprise. I think I just did maybe one little quarter adjustment with the truss rod. It was nice and straight. Didn't really have to worry about too much there, which was great. And again, surprising considering the amount of work I had to put into the other AliExpress guitar I have. That V needed a lot of work done to the neck. This one, not so bad. The thing that is a bit strange, of course, is this whole neck is glossed. So this is gloss. I mean, it's a bit sticky. I don't mind it. I can play with it like that. My other Beretta, the Bullseye I just showed you, is kind of like this too. It's okay. I can deal with that. That's fine. But the actual shape of the neck is the weird thing. It's not as much like a baseball bat as that V is, but it is definitely not thin. I would say easily this is the thickest neck outside of that V that I own. Compared to these other Kramers, yeah, this neck is huge, massive. And interesting because it's really like a big D shape up here near the nut. And it's massive, like you can really feel you're fighting with it. As you get down here, the wood, I don't know if you can see this, the wood gets thinner. Like the actual width of the neck here is thinner and flatter, which is a bit strange. I mean, it's fine. If you get up here and you're doing your shreddy parts, that's all good and great, but it seems really strange in a cheap guitar like this to have this kind of profile. And it feels a little bit strange too as the neck itself gets flatter as you come down. I mean, the fingerboard itself doesn't look to me to be radiused. It looks like it's just, a regular fingerboard, probably, I don't know, radius of 12 inches all the way through or something. But, that's weird. That's really weird. Whatever. Anyway, so when this thing showed up, the strings that were on it, just like that AliExpress V that I've got, were just absolute horrendous shit. Almost any cheap guitar you buy with strings from the factory, just cut those off, throw them away, put on a decent set of strings. These ones were hilarious though. They showed up and they were almost like black looking, just uncoated steel. I played them a little bit jokingly and my whole hands were black. It was hilarious. But yeah, not really ideal because then you touch anything and you're just smearing, oxidized residue all over stuff, which nobody wants to do. It looks silly. Anyway, so once those have been swapped, everything's fine. I should probably talk about the hardware a little bit, just since we're starting to go in that direction. The tuners I've got on here, the stock ones, they're okay. They're the same kind of crap that's on the other V I've got, and they're the same generic garbage. There's no quality here. The turning ratios are bad. The fit and finish of these is bad. Just the quality of the steel is bad. They're not a quality tuner whatsoever. But again, this is a locking nut guitar, so all your tuning for the most part is done here. I didn't really care. I mean, tuners, whatever. Once I get them kind of in the ballpark, that's going to do all the work. No massive issue. Now, aside from that, when we get into the hardware, we should probably talk about the bridge that is on this one. As you can see here, this bridge is not original. No, I had to change this. This is a Floyd Rose Special. This does stay in tune, but it's a Floyd Rose Special. Interestingly enough, the bridge that was on here wasn't nearly as horrible as that one that was on the Rhodes V. This one's kind of usable. Here, actually, hold on a second. I've got a guitar that I put that bridge on and it stays more or less in tune. I'll show that to you. All right, so this bridge right here, this is the bridge that was on the 5150. And it's okay, it's not great. I mean, the quality of the steel is still really bad, but again, this is a cheap guitar. One nice thing though, they actually do say on here, it's a licensed Floyd Rose design. It's not an actual Floyd, like the other one tried to pass itself off as a Floyd Rose too, which was laughable. The quality of the steel on this one is a little bit better. As you can see here, it's sitting on some posts and it's kind of level and it moves around. It's a bit squeaky because I haven't done anything with the springs, but this one sort of stays in tune. It's not great, but the stability is sort of there as long as you deck it. And you can see here, I've gone and decked this one. But yeah, no, this is another cheap guitar I've got. And I use it on here. It sort of works. It does go out of tune, but that could be also because my nut job here is just being shimmed. But that's another video. We'll talk about that later if anybody wants to hear about this thing. All right, so back to this one. What I should mention though, when I did swap out the bridge, as you probably noticed already, there's a big brass block in here. Now I have this as well decked. I just leave this sitting flush like that so I can put my detune on it and it works fine like this. The one thing I did have to do though, is even before I changed to this block, under full, I don't know if you can see this, under full ranger for a dive bomb, I was banging into the back of this cavity because they didn't position this far enough in their routing. Again, I don't know why, but that's just what they did. And I don't know if you can see this. See all this in here, this light colored wood? Yeah, that's me routing it so that I could actually fit this in here and use this properly and get my full range of motion. Works fine now, but keep that in mind if you do decide you want to buy one of these and do something like that, you're probably going to do a little bit of work back here. Just while I'm talking about that, one thing I should mention, when I was going into the wood, as you can see here, it looks like that's a solid piece of wood, which is great news because the other guitar I have, that V, is like 1,000 pieces of wood. This thing, from what I can tell, seems to actually be a solid piece of wood, although it's extremely light, probably basswood or something, or basswood. But yeah, it seems to be more or less one solid chunk of wood. Bonus. And also what I should mention is when they drilled in the back here for these claws, unlike that V that I've got, the angle's correct. So when I adjust this, I'm not going to have my claw poking out through the back, which is a little disconcerting with the other one. So this one gets a pass on that. All right, so I should probably mention the electronics. Just like the other AliExpress guitar I've got, the electronics on this, I don't mind. I don't hate these at all. The knob itself, I mean, aside from the knob being a regular volume knob, I think on the actual Kramer one, or at least the Frankenstrat or whatever that Eddie played, this was more like a knob you'd find on a pedal. I mean, aside from that obviously being wrong, the actual motion of it back and forth feels good. There's a bit of resistance to it, but the good quality feeling kind of resistance, which was a bit strange. I thought it'd feel a lot cheaper. It seems to be pretty good. Like if I do something like that and blend in, like you got some good control. It's not scratchy. Half decent, right? The humbucker itself, I don't have any issues with. I find the sound of this thing is just fine. I mean, it sounds like a humbucker. It sounds kind of 80s-ish to me. It works. What I should also mention is, not only does it sound okay, it looks like they mounted this one properly. Like this is directly into the wood, which is accurate. So, hey, way to go AliExpress. So, I mean, that part's proper. It sort of makes the sound. Not a bad sounding humbucker. I mean, it's pretty rare that I find humbuckers I truly dislike the sound of those, so keep that in mind. I don't see a need to change it. I mean, really, if I change out this humbucker, this guitar is not worth much. There's a good chance the humbucker will be worth, you know, half of the value of this. I suppose you could argue I've already got, you know, a bridge on here, which is worth half the value of the guitar, but what are you gonna do? As far as tones go, I mean, yeah, you can roll the volume back and play gently and, you know, get some nice tones if you're into that kind of thing. But really, I mean, if you got a guitar like this, there's only a few things you really want to do. You just want to know if it'll play Eruption. Which brings me to my next question. Can you play Eruption on this guitar? Let's find out. Yep, so there you have it. There's my my review on the AliExpress 5150 Kramer Knockoff guitar. This one out of the box direct from AliExpress, I must say, is a little bit easier to play with and more reasonable if you just want to pick it up and actually have a go on it than that V that I have. It's still by no means perfect. At least the routing on this one seems to be pretty good, aside from the part that I had to fix, obviously. And the fit and finish, though, I'd say is not nearly as nice as the V, which is shocking because the fit and finish on that is kind of crap too. So really, the fit and finish on anything from AliExpress is, well, it leaves a lot to be desired. But again, these are cheap guitars. You're gambling when you buy one of these anyway. Would I buy it again? Probably not. I kind of like having one around just to do the odd EVH video, but in all honesty, if I can come across a nice Mexican-made EVH guitar, I'll probably jump on that used and sell this one just for playability. This one's okay, it doesn't feel horrible, but again, I think I'd prefer to have, you know, something a little bit nicer for not a lot more money. But again, that being said, these EVHs now are getting pretty expensive, and this is, I only paid $300 for this, so what do you want? I can't build one of these for that kind of money. Anyway, so yeah, what can I tell you? I mean, from a distance, it looks the part. Sound-wise, it sounds pretty good. I'm not going to knock it on that one. It's shocking that this does sound half decent. The playability is, it's there. I mean, without much work from me, you can get this thing playable. Even with the old bridge on it, it was still sort of playable, but you'd have to find a way to deck that bridge. Just otherwise, you would have other tuning stability issues. But once you address those, yeah, this is a player. I hope you enjoyed the little review I've got of this guitar. It's cheap, it smells funny, the body shape's a little weird, but it looks kind of the part. It plays okay, it sounds pretty good, and yeah, if you need a cheap way to get your EVH fix, this will probably do it. Although you might have more fun just building your own. I figure they're probably about the same price once you're all in. Just, of course, one's a bit more effort and trial and error, but that can be a fun process. Anyway, hope you found this review helpful, and hopefully this will, you know, keep you a little bit informed about the quality or the lack thereof from the guitars coming from AliExpress or sites similar to that. And yeah, if you enjoy the content, just make sure you hit like and subscribe and interact with this algorithm. That really helps me out with this channel and helps things grow, and helps keep me motivated to make more of these videos, which is always a positive. That's a win-win for everybody. Anyway, so that's it. Enjoy, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.